What's up, everyone? It's Brian here from Exact Cybersecurity and IT. Welcome to another video. Hey, I get asked a lot by people like, why do cyber criminals strike when they do? And I think you're going to find some interesting stuff around this that I'm going to get into today. So let's talk about some recent cyber attacks and why hackers decided to strike when they did. First one I can think of right off the bat is a big one, University of Michigan. University of Michigan just started up school this week and they announced that they are dealing with a cyber event. They're not announcing that it's ransomware, but from information that we have, we pretty much know that the school is dealing with a ransomware disruption. It is basically shut down the entire school at this point. We see this a lot in different areas, but we see this a lot especially when we see school districts get hit and large universities and community colleges throughout the country. When they get hit with these types of attacks, it's usually, it does happen throughout the year, but usually we see a lot around August, September, when these schools are trying to get business back up and running, get students situated, and they need their systems in order to be able to make all this happen. And we're seeing the cyber criminals taking advantage of this left and right. Why do they do this? Why do they pick certain times to do this? Well, for a lot of people, the answer is simple, but for many people, they don't understand the intricacies of cyber criminals, cyber attacks, and why things go down. But their main goal is to extort their victim. If they use psychological warfare to do so. So if they can get you to feel more pressure, make you feel like your business is going through a bigger problem than it really is, or maybe in that time frame, it's a bigger deal than maybe say if it happened at a different point in the year. Cyber criminals are very well aware of this. I'm going to cite a few examples other than the Michigan attack that we're seeing today in this video to kind of illustrate how sophisticated these groups have become and what they do to get this information so they can strike when the time is best for them so they can maximize their payout and their profit. Schools are adjusting, and there's a lot of things that happen in the beginning of the school year. University of Michigan, they have a lot of new freshman students coming in, new faces. Everybody probably has to get IDs and all this stuff has to happen using computer systems. A lot of the door locks and security access systems that these schools utilize today are based on a computer network, and they need a computer network to run. And if you're shutting all these things down, it makes it hard for these students who are, quite frankly, the school's customers to do what they're paying to have done for them. The services, the education, the student housing and food and all those things that a student gets when they go to a school like University of Michigan. All of these things are not operational to these individuals and becomes a very stressful situation for school administrators. And it was also interesting at the beginning of this Michigan attack to me because they were kind of initially toying with the idea of not taking the computers off the network, and then finally somebody decided, hey, it's probably a pretty good idea if we remove all these computers from the internet, which is where they've been for about the last week now at the University of Michigan. And this isn't the only place we're seeing this right now. Out in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, there's another school district that's under a cyber attack. And I have multiple videos on this channel that you can go to show you that we have other videos on K-12 schools and other colleges and universities who have been hit with cyber attacks. And I've mentioned some of these ideas in those videos as well. The more and more we look at these attacks, the more and more we see that cyber criminals, they don't really care about your business or what's going on in your business. And in fact, they don't care from the standpoint that it's going to upset you because that's what they want. I guess that's what I'm trying to say here. They definitely do care about your timeline and your business because otherwise they'd strike whenever they want. So at the end of the day, cyber criminals, how they do this is pretty sophisticated, right? So they have to get on your network. They have to break into your network somehow, some way. And a lot of people believe that when cyber criminals get on your network, it just takes them a few hours to do what they're going to do. While that's true, they can deploy ransomware and they can do damage pretty quick. Typically, it doesn't happen that quickly. Typically, they're going to get in, they're going to get initial access, and then they're going to try to get more access or get more permanent access. So that means they're going to try to get to more computers, get to more devices on your network, do things like I say on this show all the time, move laterally to try to get as much of their calls into your network as they can. So when they strike, it's very damaging to your organization and to your business. So while they're trying to get into other computers and looking around to try to expand their footprint, they're also pouring through your data. Right? They're looking at data that they can get their hands on. Let's say you have PDF files. Let's say you have information about all kinds of things. They're trying to learn about your business, right? And in the case of like University of Michigan or the Chambersburg in Pennsylvania, the school district, those dates are published to the public. Everybody knows what dates these schools start. So really, it's just a matter of these cyber criminals staying low until that date in most of these cases. But where it gets really interesting for me is if we look past kind of like schools, universities, K through 12, and we look at some other industries where we see cyber criminals attacking at certain points, you're going to find some interesting stuff here that I'm going to make you aware of. One is we see it a lot with mergers and acquisitions. Mergers and acquisitions, or when a company gets bought, a lot of times cyber criminals can find information on your network that some sort of transaction like this is going to go down soon. So they'll wait. They'll wait for their transaction to go down, knowing that the bigger company or the bigger organization will likely lead to them probably getting a bigger payout. You wouldn't believe how common that this is for a lot of businesses where cyber criminals are on a network, and we've seen cases where they've sat for 9 months and waited for a certain merger or acquisition to happen before they struck. Cyber criminals can really strike whenever they want, but if they have enough information and they're able to scour your network and get to enough data, maybe get into a few email accounts in your business to understand your business a little bit better, they're going to strike when the timing is right so they can maximize their payout. So if they know your company is going to buy another company, merge with another company, you're being acquired, they may not attack you right away. They may hold off and then attack you after you make that transaction. We also see this in the real estate industry. We see a lot of transactions where a cyber criminal may say, like, have a business email compromised and say the title company's email compromised, and they're trying to complete a home transaction, but the cyber criminal is watching the conversation going between the mortgage company, the title company, and the real estate agent, and then they choose the right time within the transaction to misdirect funds. So when it's time for the title company to move money to, say, the mortgage company to pay off a loan, the cyber criminal creates a fake document, and that doesn't happen, and the money doesn't go, or the money doesn't go to the homeowner who's supposed to receive the proceeds. Instead of going to the homeowner, it gets shifted over to the cyber criminal. So unfortunately, we see this all the time, which means that we have cyber criminals that are successfully staying undetected on people's networks and on companies' networks for a very, very long time in order for them to gather intelligence and get enough of a foothold to where they can create enough damage, like they did over University of Michigan. Like I said, University of Michigan, they published that date, so they didn't have to go digging far for that. What they probably did have to do is spend a lot of time getting to a lot of devices and a lot of assets at the University of Michigan so they could require that school to do something as drastic as what they had to do last week, which was shut down everything from top to bottom when it comes to anything with internet or network access. You really want to have a heightened awareness around your vulnerabilities when it comes to these things in your business. So if you're a business that relies on a cycle where certain things pick up at a certain time, you might want to kind of make sure that your security is really buttoned up and tightened up a few months well in advance of that event. Have somebody come in and do a cyber risk assessment. A lot of times when we come in and we do cyber risk assessments for companies, we stop because we find something where they've already been compromised, right? And when we find that, we stop our analysis and then we work with them and we go into response and recovery mode to help them get through a situation that they were completely unaware of. This is the important stuff here. So understanding that you need to have some kind of detection in place in order to detect this kind of thing. And a simple cyber risk assessment before you have a big event going on like selling your company or merging with another company, having all these companies making sure that they're not acquiring something that's already compromised by cyber criminals, I think is pretty important. I mean, would you want to know if you were buying a company and they were already hacked or they had cyber criminals in their system? Because the minute you sign that contract or you sign that check to buy that company, that's not your problem. And there's nothing you can do after you write that check to go back and say, oh, well, you were compromised before we purchased you. That's on you to figure out before you buy that company or you merge with that company. And that's just reality. Unfortunately, we see it all the time. So the important thing here is that companies, you can do something about this stuff. Work with security professionals, work with IT professionals who can help you figure out whether you have a problem so that when you actually do need to ramp up your business, things like this don't pop out and make it a really bad experience for not only you, your customers, your employees, but just your ability to make money is completely hampered. The University of Michigan, unfortunately, they are going to have to struggle through the next probably weeks and months of dealing with downtime, paperwork, back paperwork, not being able to receive funds from the federal government for student loans and things like that. So this is going to hurt them in the pocketbook initially because cash flow is going to be a problem for them as they go through this, I can tell. But we wish them the best of luck, but know that this is all preventable. Work with a cyber professional, get the detection you need in place, and start learning whether or not you have cyber criminals in your environment already or not before you're ready to fire up your business or sell it or merge or what have you. So love to hear from you in the comments, whether you've experienced some kind of cyber event around some kind of big event in your business, whether maybe you were kicking up business or starting up the season in your business where things get busy. Maybe you went to a school that got cyber attacked and it impacted you in some way. So love to hear from everyone in the comments. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.